Keep up with all the election commotion at IBTimes.co.uk.
This is South Thanet in Kent, one of the UK's many marginal constituencies and a fierce political battleground in the 2015 general election. There are 11 candidates standing here from a variety of different political parties, but polls suggest this is a three-horse race between Labour, the Conservatives and Ukip, all of which have a chance of winning here. South Thanet is at the end of the railway line, some 80 miles from London. It includes the seaside towns of Ramsgate, Broadstairs and Sandwich, and is a deeply divided constituency amid a bitter election campaign between Ukip and those who want to keep the controversial party out.
I think Farage would be an absolute embarrassment for the area.
The fact that because they have a non-English accent that they've been attacked. One woman had to call the police about it and she blamed it directly on Farage.
We've had people say stupid things and we've dealt with them appropriately and will continue to do so.
South Thanet is a bellwether constituency. That means it chops and changes between whoever wins the national election. If Labour enters Downing Street, a Labour candidate will become MP in South Thanet, and vice versa for the Conservatives. So it's symbolic that in an election polls suggest will produce a hung parliament, Ukip may win here. The populist right-wing party's candidate is also its leader, the charismatic Nigel Farage. South Thanet is prime Ukip territory. It has pockets of white working class deprivation and large numbers of the affluent retired. Both demographics are known to be fruitful for Ukip campaigners. Despite the national attention surrounding Ukip and Farage, the party says it's running a local campaign in South Thanet. In particular, it's campaigning for the reopening of the nearby Manston Airport, regeneration of the local area, and is opposed to plans to build 12,000 new homes on greenfield land. So why does it feel like the South Thanet campaign is about national issues?
I think that's the attention you would get from the national newspapers. The national newspapers have been here almost daily, and there's television crews from all over Europe here almost daily. But the basic issues on which we are fighting the campaign actually relate to the views of local residents who feel that Nigel and his team are a breath of fresh air, who want to actually make things happen and change things in this area rather than continue the same old cycles.
The Conservative candidate in South Thanet is Craig McKinley, who was actually one of the founders of Ukip in the early 90s and deputy leader of the party until 2005 when he defected to the Tories. McKinley also says Manston Airport is one of the big issues for South Thanet. He adds to that the need for more well-paying local jobs, pensions concerns for the large number of OEPs in the constituency, and regeneration of areas such as Ramsgate Marina down the front. He says the Conservatives are offering South Thanet voters a strong and stable economy, and that he is the only person who can keep Ukip out here.
I think there is clearly a two-horse race here between us and Ukip. If you look at the latest polls, it puts us just marginally ahead and Ukip in second place. It seems to me at the moment that Labour they're not taking the seat that seriously. It's not being well funded, it's not one of their target seats. So it's a two-horse race between myself and Ukip. Ukip it's a very Marmite party. Some people say, oh, I like their policies, and they may have voted for them at the Euro elections, but we're finding even amongst those that they're coming back home to the Conservatives or to their traditional parties because we're about forming a government here. This is what this election is about. It's not the type of election where you can afford a protest vote, which people might have done at the Euro elections. This is about forming a government.
Having once been an insider, McKinley claims the public persona of Ukip as the party you could have a pint and a fag with down the pub, an image encouraged by the beer-guzzling Mr Farage, is not all it seems.
If you were to ask many MEPs who sit over in Parliament with the Ukip MEPs, you won't find much beer and fags being smoked. It's more champagne and really enjoying the trough of Brussels. So I don't think what people see is what they actually get.
Despite McKinley's assertion that this is a two-horse race, some polling puts Labour up there with the Conservatives and Ukip in South Thanet. Will Scobie, who is standing for Labour in the constituency, thinks he has a real chance of taking the seat. He said voters are telling him about a wide range of concerns, from housing to low wages to immigration. But he says he's not getting to face off on these with Ukip and Nigel Farage.
The big issues locally at the moment is the fact that Mr Farage isn't willing to take part in any public debates. He's organising his own public meetings that are ticketed events that people are excluded from coming if they don't like the look of them, and all the questions are stage managed. I'm willing to talk to anybody about any issues locally. I do this on a daily basis out on the doorstep and also at all the hustings and public meetings, because this election is a debate. It's a debate about the future of this area, and Farage is trying to stage manage his way into being the Member of Parliament when actually the person who's fighting on the ground and talking to people about the real issues is me.
Like the Conservative candidate Craig McKinley, part of Will Scobie's campaign seems to be dedicated to just keeping UKIP, and Farage in particular, out of office in South Thanet. But why?
It's not necessarily about me and what I'm trying to do. The big thing is that I think Farage would be an absolute embarrassment for the area. I think he would give us a bad name. We're seeing it already with the fact that one of his MPs got done for expenses in Margate, the same woman who also racially abused someone on the streets of Ramsgate. Another councillor made horrendous derogatory comments about black people. And that's the image that our area is being given. And I don't want our area to have that. It isn't about my views on Nigel Farage. It is about saving South Thanet from having an MP that would hold them back, who would undermine regeneration and ruin our reputation. So it's not about party politics and me just saying, I don't want him because I don't like him. It is too important to our area, the area that I was born and bred and have campaigned in the last 5 years as a local politician to try and improve. It's too important to let that be undermined by one man and his ego.
UKIP says it's trying not to react.
It smacks of desperation, it smacks of a way of doing things that is perhaps part of the old negative campaigning style. Nigel has said, and we have agreed, that our campaign here for UKIP will be about what we are going to do, not against what other people may be going to do. And we hold fire, we don't respond in kind, we continue just telling people what our view would be, what we would like to do, and why they should vote for us positively.
The campaign in South Thanet is, much like UKIP, divisive. By its own admission, UKIP is a Marmite party. You either love it or you hate it. But mutual loathing has spilled over into reciprocal acts of violence, vandalism and viciousness. Posters have been torn down, campaigners abused in the street. One local UKIP official had his garage door with spray-painted swastikas. It's not just UKIP which has been attacked. Bunny LaRoche, a local anti-UKIP campaigner, says Farage's party have created a political climate in which the far right have been stirred up. And that, she claims, has led to attacks on the streets.
People have come up to us, they've said about the fact that because they have a non-English accent that they've been attacked. One woman had to call the police about it, and she blamed it directly on Farage. People now openly that would have kept their mouths shut on their bigotry and their racism, that maybe would have kept their mouths shut, now feel emboldened by Farage standing here. So you get people coming up proudly saying that they're members of the White Flight Club and that basically we should get used to it. I'm white and English, that's why I'm voting for UKIP, and that's what white English people should do. A young black woman that's involved in our campaign said that she felt that she may have to move out of Thanet because she felt really uneasy now that Farage is here, and if he won, that she would be really, really worried about it.
South Thanet Stand Up to UKIP, which holds regular demonstrations around the area, doesn't back any particular party. Instead, it's urging constituents to vote tactically to keep Farage and UKIP out.
We're asked particularly by UKIP people because they're desperate to find out if we support a particular party, or are we paid or in the pay of particularly the Labour Party, is something that they always like to throw at us. And we just say to people, keep an eye on the polls. Nearer the time, just check the polls all the time, and literally you're going to have to kind of go with whoever you think can keep Farage out. And that is something that we will continue to say.
UKIP is keen to shift perceptions that it's a party teeming with prejudice against different groups, from ethnic minorities to Eastern Europeans to homosexuals. A number of scandals involving comments made by UKIP politicians, officials and supporters haven't helped this mission.
But over the country as a whole, we have a rainbow coalition of candidates. When we had a day of action here to kick off this campaign in January, we had 4 Asian Muslim guys down from Bradford who went around knocking on the doors in the sort of poshest, whitest areas of the constituency, just to demonstrate to people that, what others' perception of us is not true. And yes, we've had people say stupid things and we've dealt with them appropriately, and we'll continue to do so.
The media focus on South Thanet, thanks to UKIP and Farage, has attracted a couple of joke candidates. Among them, the comedian Al Murray, whose pub landlord character is a satire of the kind of Little England attitudes UKIP is accused of harbouring. And there's a strange man calling himself the Prophet Zebediah from the Al-Zababis nation of Oog, which is confusing and reportedly even scaring some South Thanet voters. But this election isn't a joke to South Thanet voters who, when all is said and done, face the tough task of reuniting a divided community. On May 7th, the people of South Thanet will decide whether or not they want UKIP to represent them in the House of Commons. How will they vote, and what matters most to them?
As much as a lot of the parties, I like some of their policies, but obviously. I've always voted Labour.
I'll go for Nigel Farage
Why is that?
because he speaks our language.
What exactly is he saying that appeals to you?
Immigration to start with.
The biggest issue are immigrants coming over here. The biggest thing going, it really is. We've got a lovely England, or Ramsgate, Margate and all the way around here. It's a lovely plan, but we've got too many of them coming in. It really is. And more we don't want houses built down here for them. We just don't. It's a shame, but I'm against immigrants, like everyone else is.
Farage has publicly said he would stand down as leader if he is not elected. Privately, however, UKIP officials are confident that they will take South Thanet, possibly with as much as a 2,500 majority. Labour and the Conservatives would undoubtedly dispute this, and it's impossible to know who will win in South Thanet come May. Just like at the national level in British politics, the only certainty here, in the far reaches of Kent, is uncertainty.